Alright, like I said, you can use this on your test tomorrow. Let's start at the top left. It says the discriminant. The discriminant is the part under the radical, b squared minus 4ac. If it comes out to be 0, if your answer comes out to be 0, there's one real solution. If it comes out to be positive, there's two real solutions. If it comes out to be negative, it's two imaginary solutions or no real solutions. I'm good with that too. That is all true. Let's go underneath it. It says graphing. So all this means is that if we were to draw a graph and it did not cross the x-axis, how many solutions are there? 0. So there's no real solutions. No real or two imaginary. Either is correct. Two real or excuse me, no real or two imaginary. How about if it hits the x-axis and bounces off? How many solutions are there? 1. So if it goes up, it hits, and it bounces off, there is one real solution. I'll be right back.
Good morning. I'm going to give you a sheet and we'll just no. I trust you. If it was Annalise, I would. He had a pass and he goes, do you need it? And I said, no, I trust you. But if it was Annalise, I would.
All right, moving on. All right, so this one did not touch the x-axis. This touched it once. This one is going to touch it twice. So this is two real solutions.
Can it go like?
It can be up and down, left, or it can't be up, left, or right. It can be up and down, or it can be up, it can be down. It doesn't matter as long as it touches twice.
Can it go through like the last?
Yep, that is fine. All we care about is the x-axis, so how many times does it touch the x-axis? That's really what we're looking for. All right, quadratic formula. Do you need to memorize the quadratic formula? Yeah. You can use this on the test tomorrow, and I believe that's the quadratic formula right there. All right, square roots. We do this if there is no b term. So if you're a good avid kid or just a good student in general and want to highlight that, I would suggest that. There is no b term. All right, when are all homework assignments due? Tomorrow. All right, so here's an example. 3x squared minus 10x. Actually, get rid of the x, I'm sorry. Minus 10. I made a mistake, sorry. Minus 10 equals 11. So 3x squared minus 10 equals 11. I was thinking of a problem on the study guide. All right, so we are solving for x. There's no b term. B term would be my ax squared plus bx. There's no variable, so it's just x squared and numbers, constants. How do I get rid of a minus 10? Add 10, thank you. 3x squared equals 21. Divide by 3, divide by 3. X squared equals 7. Have we solved for x? No, the square is squaring, or the 2 is squaring, so to get rid of it, we square root it. X equals plus or minus square root 7. What happens if you just put square root 7 and not the plus minus? You're going to lose points. All right, how do we factor to solve for equations? X squared minus x equals 20. First thing we have to do is get it equal to 0. So how do I get rid of a 20x? How do I get rid of a positive 20? Jeez. No coffee today. It's killing me. Alright, so now we have it equal to 0. Are there factors of negative 20 that equal negative 1? Yes, negative 5 and 4. So this factors into x minus 5 and x plus 4.
What was it? 320 equals
1. So you need factors of your A times C that equal B. I'm holding on.
So it's the biggest number, the bigger number is always negative.
Well, on this one, see how this is a negative here? That means our signs are different. The bigger one must be negative, yes. Have we solved this yet? Are we done? No, we need to find out where it crosses the x-axis. Elise said it's in parentheses, so it's a liar, and she's absolutely correct. And she knows the answer is 5 and negative 4. But for those of us that don't know that, we're going to put each of these equal to 0 and solve. And that's your answer. 5 and negative 4. Alright, completing the square. X squared plus 14x minus 3 equals 0. That will not factor. There's no factors of 3 that equal 14, I promise you. Your only factors are 1 and 3, and there's no way to get them to 14. It's 14x. Alright, so first thing I have to do is get rid of the 3, so I move it to the right side. I take my b term, which is 14, I cut it in half, and then I square it. What is half of 14? 7 squared. So I add that to both sides. And the reason I do that is now this will factor. What are my factors? What are my numbers that equal 49? So that's going to factor into x plus 7 squared. Thank you so much. No, I placed that order last period. X plus 7 squared equals 52. How do I get rid of the square? I square root it. So x plus 7 equals the square root of 52. Will 52 break down? I think so. Let's go over here. There's a little room up here. Square root of 52, 2 and 26, 2 and 13. Is that the door again? Yeah. Alright, so in order to get out, you need to have a twin. Do we have twins? So the 2 gets out, the 13 does not. So x plus 7 equals...
The interruption. Any student that has Mrs. Ham for English, please report to the Media Center at this time. Again, any student that has Mrs. Ham for English, please report to the Media Center at this time.
Alright, so now I need to subtract 7, and remember that's plus or minus 2 square root 13. Subtract 7 from both sides, negative 7 plus or minus 2 square root 13 is your final answer. Alright, once you have that written, please get out your study guide. Is one to narrow that? No, it's minus 7. This coffee tastes burnt. That's unfortunate. Ty, do you have this? Yep. It's negative 7 plus or minus 2 square root 13. There, I even highlighted it for you. All right, can we go on? This is going to go kind of quick just because there's 25 problems and we're down to how much time? 33 minutes. So we need to step it up. There's not 25 questions on your test tomorrow. There is only 10. All right. All right, let's go. The imaginary number I is the same as what? Square root of -1. Liam, is that something maybe I should write on here?
Yeah.
Just say. It's an option. All right, what is I squared the same as? -1. Complex numbers are written in the form of A plus BI. I stands for imaginary. So your real friend must enter the room before your imaginary friend. It's only fair. All right, when dividing a complex number, multiply the numerator and the denominator by the complex conjugate. Complex conjugate. I'll explain what that is when we get there. On number 8, I'll give you an example of it. It's more important that you know how to do it than what it is. All right, number 4. If you get 4 wrong, I am sending you to your guidance counselor to get your schedule changed for second semester. Liberal arts math. Do you know what liberal arts math is?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, and this is why, Jonna. Ready? What is 3 plus 5? What is -8i plus 1i? What is -8i plus 1i? I've just told you. That's it. That's all you're doing is combining like terms. And if you can't do that, you're in big trouble. Much like Crystal's about to yell at me because I still haven't passed back test yet. But I'm working on it. It's not like I've forgotten about it. All right, number 5 is one step harder. I would assume you'll see questions like 4 and 5 on the quiz tomorrow. What do I have to do differently on number 5? Yeah, but how do we subtract? Do I just subtract? I have to distribute the negative to the 5. I'm surprised none of you knew that. Just kidding. I'm kidding. All right. If I pick on the girls at the back table, I got to pick on you. It's only fair. All right. Who's confused? Jojo? All right. All I did is distribute. Negative times 5 is -5. Negative times 2i is -2i. Now I'm just going to combine like terms. If I borrow $9, then borrow 5 more, how much have I borrowed? Thank you. And if I have 5 i's and I take away 2 of them, how many do I have? There you go. You're done. That's your answer. Yes. Just because you don't like something, it doesn't mean it disappears. I would have a lot less kids in my class later in the day. Yes. -14 plus 3i. All right. 6 is not that difficult. I would lie to you, but I'm not currently. All right. What is 2i times 1? Told you. What is 2i times 10i? If you leave it like that, you're going to lose points. Because what is I squared the same as? And Liam wrote that on his paper because it was a good idea. So what is I squared? What is -1 times 20? Which should go first, the real number or the imaginary number? So -20 plus 2i. Bam, you're done. That wasn't too terribly difficult. All right, number 7, we have to do distributive property twice. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 3i is -i times 5 is, and -i times 3 is, All right, you just got half credit if you can do that. Now, to get full credit, we need to simplify this. I squared is the same as negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 3 is positive 3. What is 10 plus 3? 13. Yes, ma'am. All right, 6i minus 5i. Is that okay? 13 plus I is your final answer.
So since like 3i becomes like negative 3 times negative 1, does the I disappear?
I squared turns into negative 1. It goes away. All right, number 8 is when we use our complex conjugate. So instead of 3 plus 6i, our complex conjugate is 3 minus 6i. And if I do it to the bottom, I must do it to the top. It's only fair if I do it to the bottom. To keep it... It's the opposite because it'll make it cancel out. All right, all I'm doing is multiplying both the top and bottom by 3 minus 6i because you're not allowed to have an imaginary number in the bottom of your fraction. So to get rid of it, if we have 3 plus 6i, we multiply it by 3 minus 6i. There can be if you want. If you want parentheses, you can add parentheses. All right, so now we have to do distributive property. 5i times 3 is 15i. That's a wonky looking 15. All right, 5i times negative 6i. Negative 30i squared, because I times I is I squared. All right, let's look at the bottom now. 3 times 3 is 3 times negative 6i. All right, we're not that far yet. All right, so now go on to your second term. 6i times 3 is 18i. Jackson, notice how we have a negative 18i plus 18i, so now they're going to go away. All right, 6i times negative 6i is negative 36i squared. That gave you half credit if you can make it that far. All right, so the thing is, JoJo, if you get half credit on all your test questions and do all your homework, you'll pass the course. So just say it. I know, I'm just saying, for anyone. All right, what is I squared the same as? Negative 1 times negative 30 is? All right, so I'm just going to rewrite this with the 30 in front. So 30 plus 15i. Let's look at the bottom. Shut up, Siri. She was trying. All right, negative 18i plus 18i, that cancels out. That's why we do this. I squared is the same as negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 36 is the same as plus 36. What's 9 plus 36? 45. Will this simplify? Will it reduce? Is there a number that goes into 15, 30, and 45? 15 goes into 30 twice. 15 goes into 15 once. And 15 goes into 45 3 times. What does that say right there? Or we could do 2/3 plus I over 3. Either one of those are the same exact number. It doesn't matter. Whichever one makes you warm and fuzzy.
What if you put the 2 plus I over 3 with
Yeah. I would personally keep it like that. But here's the thing. If you use if we were to use the McGraw-Hill program, it would want it like that. I'm just showing you. It's another option. Life is full of options. Number 9, there's an excellent chance you'll see a question like number 9 on the test. 5x squared plus 20 equals 0. We are solving for x. What should I do first?
minus 1.
All right, the 5 is multiplying, so to get rid of it, we divide. So now I have x squared equals negative 4. Is that my final answer? No, that'll probably get you half credit, though. And JoJo's all about the half credit. All right, how do I get rid of the square? Square root it. So now we're at x equals the square root of negative 4. What does negative 4 break into? Square root of negative 1 and square root of 4. I think that's what you were going for. What's the square root of negative 1 the same as? And square root of 4 is 2 and 2, so they both get out.
If I wanted to put this like I and not negative 1 without it, is that okay?
As long as you get x equals plus or minus 2i, that is fine. Good job. All right, number 10 is not that hard. Ryan drops a ball off the top of a playground. The height of the ball in feet seconds from being dropped is modeled by the function h of t equals negative 16t squared plus 12. How long will it take to reach the ground? Round your answer to the nearest hundredth. Who do I want to pick on, Jonna or Annalise? All right, Annalise, let's pretend we're at the top of the playground, okay? I drop the ball. What's the height of the ball when it's on the ground? Thank you. So 0 equals, because it wants to know the height. So when will it reach the ground? So what's the height? 0. It's on the ground. 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 12. And now we're going to solve for t. How do I get rid of a positive 12? Negative 12 equals negative 16t squared. How do I get rid of the negative 16? It's multiplying, so I divide. So now I have t squared equals 12 over 16. I'm solving for time, the t. How do I get rid of the floating 2? Square root. T equals the square root of 12 over 16. Will you have access to a calculator tomorrow? Unless you make me mad between now and then, you will. All right, so I'm going to do second square root 12 divided by 16. No, they're both positive. Because we had negative 12 divided by negative 16. Two negatives equal a... Good question. So now we know that t equals plus or minus 0.87. Sorry, I heard someone outside. It distracted me. Can it be negative? Can we go back in time? No. So what's my correct answer? Only positive. This one's only positive because it's time. We cannot go back in time. I have a question for someone smart. No, it's just positive because we don't want negative 0.87 seconds. Nope, just 0.87. All right, Abby, question. Does it matter if I would have reduced this before I square rooted it? Would it matter? No, it wouldn't matter. Same answer. Yes?
Would it be odd if the first number negative?
Two negatives equal a positive. So we're square rooting 12/16, which is the same as 3/4. So the square root of 3/4 is 0.87, but since it's time, it has to be positive. All right, let's move on. We're down to 19 minutes. When solving by factoring, first make sure the equation is equal to 0. Equal to 0. So is 12 equal to 0? So I'm going to add 9x and subtract 5. And now it equals 0. So now I can factor it. I need factors of negative 10 that equal 9. Signs are different. The bigger one is positive. Negative 1 and 10 equals what? 9. Is that what I want? Yes. Because then that would have been negative, and I don't want to factor a negative. Ugh. Yeah. Good question, though. Just don't do it. I don't think I've factored a negative in like 18 years just because it's so much harder. All right, so next we multiplied by 2 to begin with, so now we need to divide by 2. Does 2 go into 1 evenly? Have we solved for where it crosses the x-axis yet? Nope. What do we have to do to these two terms? Put them equal to? So this crosses at 1/2 and it crosses at -5. Those are your answers. 1/2. I'm sorry, it got a little sloppy there. 1/2 and -5 are your answers. 13 I'm going to do really quick. First thing we have to do is get it equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract 42. All right, can I go on? Someone said hold on. So I just want to make sure I hold on. What are the first two factors of 42 that pop into your head? All right, so does 7 and 6, is there a way to get it to be positive 1? X plus 7, x minus 6. Put those equal to 0 and solve. You're done. Don't I always say if it's in parentheses, it's a liar?
Yes.
We just proved it. I know. Well, we're down to 15 minutes, and we're on question 14 out of 25. What are the first two factors of 30 that come to your mind? Do -5 minus 6 equal -11? Yes. So x minus 5, x minus 6. Once again, put them equal to 0. And this crosses at 5 and 6. All right, when you're done with that, please flip your paper over. Completing the square. Step 1, isolate. What does isolate mean? Okay, so you're going to get the ax squared plus bx. So we want to send c to the other side of the equal sign. Step 2, take our b term, cut it in half, and square it. And then once you do that, what do you have to do? Add to both sides. Step 3, factor or solve. Either's fine. There is a question just like 16A and 16B on the test tomorrow. I'm telling you right now, there's a question just like this. So what I'm going to do is take my B term cut it in half, and square it. And here's the sad thing is, some of you will get this problem wrong tomorrow.
That's not a B-term.
Oh, you remember on the graphic organizer I tried to add an X? That's why. Add your X. It's 20X. 20X. Alright, so what is half of 20? What's 10 times 10? There you go. Congratulations. That's worth like 5 points tomorrow if you can do that. It might be worth 10. I'll look later when we're done. We're down to 13 minutes. So now what? I'm sorry? Alright, so what did I square to get to 100? So that's your answer right there. So whatever you cut in half your B term is your answer. I don't know if you want to write that or that's your answer. Half of B is your answer. Alright, 17 says, solve each quadratic equation by completing the square. Step 1 was to isolate my ax squared plus bx, so that means I need to get rid of the 15. I need to take my b term, cut it in half, and square it. What is half of negative 6? Negative 3 times negative 3. Now, since this is a minus here, this is going to be x minus 3 squared. Negative 15 plus 9 is negative 6. Now I have to get rid of the square. How do I get rid of the square? I square root both sides. So I'm going to go over here because I'm running out of room. X minus 3 equals the square root of negative 6. Alright, what does the square root of negative 6 break down into? Negative 1 and 6. Does 6 break down? And are there any twins? No. So now we have x minus 3 equals I square root 6. How do I get rid of a minus 3? So x equals 3 plus or minus I square root 6. That's your final answer. If you at least set it up to the part where you factor it, where you do your b term, cut it in half and square it, I'll give you half credit for that. '18 is actually easier than 17, and I'll show you why. Step 1, get rid of your 13, so I'm going to subtract 13, get rid of your c term. Take your b term, cut it in half, and square it. Half of 14 is 7. 7 squared is 49, so I need to add 49 to both sides. This now factors into x plus 7 squared. Negative 13 plus 49 is 36. That's worth half credit. But that's actually the hard part. So the easy part now is, how do I get rid of the little floating 2? Square root both sides. So that's going to give me x plus 7 equals plus or minus 6. Because the square root of 36 is plus or minus 6. How do I get rid of a plus 7? Yeah. So now I'm going to split into two pieces. 6 minus 7. And negative 6 minus 7.
So once we get twins, we don't have to factor them down.
Nope. So negative 1 and negative 13 are your answers.
Can we just leave it like that on the test?
Yes. You mean negative 1 and negative 13?
What can you like?
Well, I would circle that. That's your final answer. All right, do you need to memorize the quadratic formula? It's on your other form. So if you bring your other form, no. The discriminant, do you need to memorize the discriminant? Do you need to memorize the discriminant? No, it's on your other form. So I'm not going to write those out. If the discriminant comes out to be positive, there are two real solutions. If the discriminant comes out to be a negative, there are two imaginary or no real.
Could you try again?
No. No.
Okay.
No. All right, so we have 3 questions left and we have 8 minutes. I think we can do this. It wants us to solve by quadratic equations. So the opposite of B. So first thing I would do is label A, B, and C. The opposite of B, so negative 5 plus or minus the square root. B squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2A. You just got half credit if you can set up the quadratic formula properly. So now to get full credit, 5 squared is 25. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. All over 2. Negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 17 over 2. Can I simplify that any more? What are the factors of 17? 1 and 17. Are there any twins? That's your final answer. All right, the only thing you need to know about 24 is what do I have to do with the negative 24 before we begin? Move it to the other side. So now A equals 1, B equals negative 16, and C equals 24, and then we're going to do quadratic formula. The opposite of B, so 16 plus or minus the square root, B squared minus 4 times A times C, all over 2A. Do you have to use quadratic formula on your test? Well, we could have done this by completing the square. That would have been so much easier. But let's just keep going now, except for we have some big numbers. I think 16 times 16 is 256, but it's early, so let me check. All right, so now we have 16 plus or minus the square root, 256. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times 24, could someone get that please, is negative 96, all over 2. 16 plus or minus 256, yes, 256 minus 96 is 160, all over 2. What's that? Oops, sorry. All right, so now I need to break down the square root of 160. Good times. I would probably use 16 and 10. 16 I would do 4 and 4. 10 I would do 2 and 5. 4s are twins, so they get out. The 2 does not, the 5 does not. 16 plus or minus 4 square root 10 over 2. Does 2 go into 4 and 16? So 8 plus or minus 2 square root 10 is your final answer. That would have been so much easier to do it by completing the square. Just saying. I'm just going to show you for fun. Hold on, I'll go back. I did it by completing the square last period, and look how much easier that was. So much easier. Just saying. All right, we have one question left, and we have 4 minutes. I think we can do it. Mike tosses the ball into the air. The function h of t equals negative 5t squared plus 12t plus 3 gives approximate height h in meters of a ball t seconds after he tosses it. Does the ball reach a height of 8 meters? What is the height that it wants it to make it to? So I'm going to do 8 equals negative 5t squared plus 12t plus 3. I want this equal to 0. I don't want it equal to 8. So how do I get rid of a plus 8? So now I have negative 5t squared plus 12t minus 5. So now this equals 0, correct? So isn't that our x-axis now? So now all we need to do is find out, does it hit the x-axis? Is there a shortcut that we have to find out if it crosses the x-axis?
Yes.
And what is that called? The discriminant. So if this comes out to be 0 or positive, your answer is yes. So b squared, so 12 squared, minus 4 times a times c. 12 squared, I believe, is 144. Negative 4 times negative 5 is 20. 20 times negative 5 is negative 100. 144 minus 100 is 44. Is that positive, negative, or 0? It is positive, so my answer is yes.
Do you put like 2 real solutions? Or you just put-
Just yes, because it wants to know if it hits the x-axis, and if it's positive, it hits the x-axis.